Good morning and welcome to Money Wisdom, sponsored by Johnson Brunetti. I'm Natasha Lubchenko. We're teaching you smart ways to manage your money, and here with expert advice is Eric Hogarth, certified financial planner and Johnson Brunetti partner. Eric, thanks so much for joining us.
Of course.
So, timely topic today. Let's talk inflation and its impact. First, can you explain what exactly inflation is?
Things cost more money than they used to. So inflation is based on the consumer price index, and bottom line, you go to the grocery store, everything costs way more money than it used to be. That's inflation.
All right, now let's jump right in. Learning more about inflation. You say that it's measured by the consumer price index.
So we're always looking at, and we'll talk a little bit more on it in a minute, is inflation high? Is it low? High inflation's bad, low inflation's bad. But people need to be, we're looking at, are people getting paid more money? Because everything's going to cost more money. So when we're talking retirement planning, that's a big factor, is how much is everything going to cost 5, 10, 20 years from now?
Right. And you just touched on this, but let's dive in further. You say high inflation hurts the economy, but deflation is not good either.
So a lot of our economy is based on people spending money, right? Shopping. And when inflation is really high and all of a sudden, well, the thing I bought, a car, right? The thing I bought 6 months ago, well, now it costs way more money, maybe I'm not going to buy it. So when there's really high inflation, people don't spend as much money. At the same time, when there's deflation, when there's not as high inflation, they might be buying the same amount of stuff, but the companies aren't profiting as much off of it because they're spending less money for it. And if they're not profiting as much, then they don't make as much, then they have layoffs. And then that's not good for the economy either, because then we have problems with jobs.
So we want a happy medium, I would imagine.
Yeah, we want a happy medium.
In an ideal world. Okay, now let's talk planning. So for retirees, how can they plan for inflation?
So the big thing with this, a lot of the people that we're sitting down with, they're either retired or they're about to retire. And if you think, well, pretty much anyone, if I ask, do you keep money in the bank? Well, of course I do. You need emergency money available. Are you making any money in the bank? No. So if you leave too much money in the bank, or all your money, that's not going to work for inflation, because $100,000 today is not worth $100,000 20 years from now. Look at what houses used to cost. Look what everything used to cost relative to now. So you need to grow your money. You need to have a plan to figure out what's the appropriate amount.
And this is also important, you say, for retirees to know, is that their buying power is diminished by inflation. So how do they navigate this?
The reality is when people retire, they spend more money in the early years because they're more active and they might travel more and they go out to eat more, they entertain more. But 20 years from now, as people live longer and longer and longer, everything's going to cost more. So again, it's figuring out what the happy medium, what the balance is to you.
All right, and if our viewers today want to learn more about inflation, you have an offer for us.
I have an offer. It is entirely about inflation, and you can't talk inflation without talking about spending money and taxes. And it's a book. It's called Inflation in Your Retirement. It's absolutely free. You can get it at moneywisdomtv.com. And even if you're someone who's not close to retirement, you're just thinking about how can I make my money work for me, read the book. It's about inflation in retirement, but also not retirement. moneywisdomtv.com, free. Read it.
All right, Eric Hogarth from Johnson Brunetti. Great offer and information as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and again, you can learn more at moneywisdomtv.com. We'll see you back here next week.